Good afternoon. I'll be teaching a Stage 1 Year 2 class on the unit of inclusion and respect. This will be lesson 1 of 4. Before we start, I just want to go over some safety and sensitivity issues. So teachers should always make sure they're using the correct pronouns. If a student prefers the pronoun of he, she or they, and the parents and school are all on board, the teacher needs to respect this and use the correct pronoun. Secondly, the teacher needs to make sure students know this is a safe space. If students have any issues, personal issues, issues with the lesson, issues understanding something, they can come and speak to the teacher privately, either after class or during lunch or recess. Teacher needs to make sure that students feel safe, welcome, and just clarify that they should do this privately with the teacher and not voice personal issues in front of the whole class. Thirdly, a very simple one, but safety-wise, we just want to make sure the floor is clear of any tripping hazards, as students will be moving back and forth from their tables to the floor, so we don't want anyone falling over. Alright, so the bulk for this lesson will be identifying unique qualities and comparing interests. So the bulk for this lesson will be identifying unique qualities and comparing interests to understand similarities and differences with one another. We want students to accept themselves and each other regardless of their similarities and differences in interests and qualities. To start the lesson, we'll have the students seated on the floor, the teacher, myself, up the front of the classroom, and my smartboard behind me. I'll have the YouTube video, read aloud story, up. The link is in my original lesson plan, but I'll quickly just summarise the video. It's a story about an exclamation mark that struggles to fit in with a group of full stops. No matter what he does, he can't look the same as them, and he even contemplates running away. However, he stumbles upon question mark. He notices question mark is different to any of the full stops he knows, and he realises that being different is not so bad. Question mark is happy and content with who he is, and exclamation mark starts to feel more confident. In the end, question mark, exclamation mark, and the full stops all become friends, respect each other, and go as far as cheering each other's differences on, which is really beautiful. After watching the video, I would ask the students, what is the problem in the story? I expect students to raise their hands and answer politely. I won't tolerate calling out, and students should already know this, as I would be their regular teacher. A possible answer would be, the problem in the story is that exclamation mark doesn't fit in, or that exclamation mark is different from the others. I would follow that up by asking, is this actually a bad thing? Now, here is where I'd hope students would recognise that this was not a bad thing, that exclamation mark's uniqueness is what made him him. However, if some students said that yes, it was a problem because he felt lonely or left out or different, that's okay, because this lesson is here to prove to them that it's okay to be different. By the end of this lesson, they'll understand why it's not a problem to be different. It's not a bad thing. Okay, I would explain to students that we all have different personalities and different qualities, and list some potential qualities. So someone might be kind, funny, generous, strong, good at maths or spelling, anything that they can think of. Students will be called up one by one to pull a paper out of the hat. I would choose students one by one based on who was listening and behaving the best throughout the introduction or throughout the whole day's lessons. Each paper strip would have a student's name in it. When a student is called up, they are to pull a paper strip out and they will get a student's name. For example, Jeremy. If Jeremy comes up and pulls his own name out, he's put it back and pull another strip out until he gets someone else's name. Once they have pulled a paper strip out, students are to walk back to their desk and sit down, start working. They are to write a paragraph identifying 2 qualities of the person on their strip of paper, 2 good qualities, and they are to recognise how this person displays these qualities. For example, if they are kind, maybe this person will write what an act of kindness they've done recently is. They're then to use colouring pencils to draw a picture or a scene that depicts one of these qualities in action. For example, if someone is funny, they might draw a picture of their classmate saying a joke and other students sitting down laughing. Students will be emphasised to make sure the paragraph is good, the drawings are pretty, as they will be hung up on the wall. Because of this, students will have 20 minutes to complete this activity, which is a generous amount of time. Modifications will include, if students struggle with writing, they will receive a template. I did have this prepared to print, however my printer is not working, so I will just read out the template to you. I think, classmate's name, best quality is his or her, list a quality. This is because, explain something that they do that displays this quality. I also like his or her, list another good quality, which he, she shows by, write how they show this quality. This is a very simple template, as you can see, but it allows students who may struggle with writing to work off it, to copy and just fill in the blanks, and they can even elaborate on it if possible. They are definitely encouraged to elaborate on it if they can. Students who may have physical impairments that prevent them from writing will be able to verbally recite their paragraph, to either be recorded on an iPad or written down with the support of a teacher or an early finishing student. Once this activity is finished, students are to come up and hand their papers back to the teacher. The teacher will keep these and will eventually hang them up in a section of the classroom wall to remind students of their positive qualities and how other students perceive them in a genuine, good manner. Students will sit back down on the floor once they have handed their sheet back to the teacher, so the teacher, myself, can explain the next activity. The next activity does have a KLA link to mathematics, as it will be the students' probably first ever time introduced to a Venn diagram, as they're only in year 2. It's a very simple Venn diagram. I will have this image up on my smartboard for the whole class to see. However, as that is not possible, I will just put it close up. So student 1 will fill their name in there, student 2 will fill their name in there, and it says likes and interests. In the middle, they have shared likes and interests. Students will work with the person sitting beside them to fill in their likes and interests in one circle. The other person will fill in their likes and interests in the other circle. Where it overlaps is where they will put shared likes and interests. This activity encourages students to recognise that there are similarities and differences between us all, both in our interests and likes. Once students have filled this in, they are to discuss with another pair on their table their findings. They might find that between the pairs they have heaps of common likes and interests, or none whatsoever, and that's okay. These sheets, once finished, will be handed back to me, the teacher. I will make a photocopy of each sheet, as one was shared between 2, so then they will have 2 copies and each student can paste one in their book. I might have to do the photocopying at another time, like during lunch, recess, or during a break that I have. Once students have handed their papers back to the teacher, they are to ensure their desks are tidy, pencils are put away, books are put away, so just a quick tidy up. Students should be aware of this, as this is something we do at the end of every lesson. They will be encouraged to do this very quickly with the awarding of table points. With 30 students in my class, there might be 5 tables, 6 students at each table. They will have to race each other to get a table point. Whoever finishes tidying up to my liking first will get a table point. For the closure, once they have finished cleaning up, students will stand around the classroom all in different positions. They will have done this activity before, so they will know what's going on. The teacher will hold a handball and will underarm throw, and this is emphasised to students that only gentle underarm throws are to be used. I will underarm throw the handball to a student. That student will share something they either liked or found interesting during the lesson. They will throw the ball to the next student. That student will share something, and this will go on until we're out of time, or until everyone has had a go. This will be a type of formative assessment for me as the teacher to hear what students have learned and to make sure they have understood the lesson's content and that they have been engaged. Thank you very much.